Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to the true traits of believers. What makes you and I a true Muslim? And I'm covering 13 such characteristics, or I like to call them traits. Today, we're going to be talking about trait number 5. This one requires us to understand that those of us who claim to have a commitment to being a good believer need to commit against evil, shamelessness, and rebellion. Trait number 5 is quite simple. It's based on a verse of the Quran where Allah says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ يَأْمُرُ بِالْعَدْلِ وَالْإِحْسَانِ وَإِيتَاءِ ذِي الْقُرْبَى وَيَنْهَى عَنِ الْفَحْشَاءِ وَالْمُنْكَرِ وَالْبَغْيِ. So true believers, Allah says, Allah orders. The first 3 I'm not going to touch on today, but the second 3 are prohibitions, and I want to talk about that in that verse. And Allah orders you and I to, or forbids for you and I, fahsha wal munkar and baghi. Fahsha means shameful deeds, munkar means evil, and baghi means transgression. Anything that is corrupting, anything that is destroying, anything that is violent, anything that is harmful for the humanity falls in that category. Moral harmfulness, ethical harmfulness, spiritual decadence, any harm falls in that category. And Allah wants you and I to be absolutely committed in standing against such behavior. Evil, shamelessness, and rebellion. Let me explain this a bit more. What is evil? Arabic word is munkar. Arabic word munkar actually means something that is detestable, something that is hated from our hearts. Something that you hate becomes munkar. In other words, if an action, if you did and you were to be found out by the world, you will find yourself in embarrassment and people will detest you and hate you. That is munkar, that is evil. So a true believer doesn't need to hide his or her actions. It's simple. If you are trying to hide something, there's something wrong in it. That's how I define it. That's how I look at it. Evil is evil for everybody. Allah says in the Quran, do you think good and evil are the same? They're never the same. They're never the same. وَلَا تَسْتَوِي الْحَسَنَةُ وَلَا السَّيِّئَةُ. Allah says, good and evil can never be the same. My dear brothers and sisters, so if we want to understand the concept of evil, we need to understand evil is something that is harmful for everybody. Moral evil is a bigger harm than the physical evil, I believe. Moral evil is when you corrupt a person's thinking, when you corrupt a person's behavior, when you corrupt a person's lifestyle. Abilities to judge between right and wrong, you corrupt it all. That becomes a moral evil. And that is more harmful, in my view, than the physical evil that we may see around us. So we need to stand resolutely against all types of evil. Ethical evil, evil that harms and compromises our ethics. Evil that compromises our society, our collective well-being, individual well-being, physically and spiritually, is also not acceptable, is known as more evil, is known as evil. Some people will question, how is spiritual well-being and spiritual evil relevant? It is. You know, our heart, our body and our mind, our soul rather, and body and our mind, all needs nourishment. The body needs food to survive. Our brain needs thoughts, reading, intellectual activities to keep alive. It is said, if you stop reading and intellectually engaging in conversations and discussions and debates, your brain starts diminishing. Eventually you suffer from dementia. Our soul needs nourishment too. And the nourishment of our soul is spirituality, is recognizing Allah, is recognizing that we have a origin, a source, a heavenly beginning, and we shall end also and heavenly environment. Unfortunately, if we had pursued an evil path, that union won't be possible. That's the reason why spiritual evil needs to be seriously addressed and taken. You and I need to make sure that we are not suffering from spiritual evil. As a believer, we have to be against all types of evil. Anything that's harmful, morally, spiritually, and physically. We are also encouraged and told in the Quran we need to stand against shamelessness. What is shamelessness? Anything that breaks the concept of haya. As we know, haya is bashfulness, an element of natural, predisposed, part of our fitra, an element of shyness that permeates our existence. If that's destroyed, shamelessness prevails in the world. Promiscuity is one of the byproducts. Openly drunkard behavior is a byproduct of shamelessness. Sexual perversion is another example of shamelessness. Shamelessness is a deep problem in our society, and we need to do something about it. And Islam, as a true believer, you and I are expected to stand against shamelessness, promote shyness, and stand against shamelessness. Anyone who's shameless will not feel a remorse or an iota of remorse in their heart when they do evil. When you lose that, you've lost it all. Shamelessness. Remember that. And finally, in that particular trait, Allah talks about rebellion, baghi. Rebellion, my dear brothers and sisters, is when you rebel against Allah and your natural way. Allah exists. There are people who want to rebel against Him. Quran is the true word of Allah. People want to rebel against it. There are some Muslims who try and twist and turn to suit their own desires. They are more willing to bend the Quran than mend their ways. Oh, they'll find excuses. Oh, it doesn't say that in the Quran. Oh, it's not in the Hadith. In fact, you know what? The problem is in their hearts. If you submit, you won't be looking for excuses from the Quran in order for you to make a twist and a turn to suit your desires. So rebellion is when you rebel against Allah openly. Rebellion is when you transgress beyond the bounds, when you question the hudud that Allah has talked about. You know, hudud is the boundaries. When you question the qat'i, the absolute, when you question the ahkam, the orders of Allah, when you try and make haram halal and halal haram, when you try and turn and twist Allah's words, that's rebellion. And Allah does not like people who rebel. He talked about it in the form of Fir'aun. He says about Fir'aun, إِنَّهُ طَغَى. He is the one who has transgressed. He said to Musa, اذهب إلى فرعون إنه طغى. Go to Fir'aun, for he has openly rebelled. And Allah has said He prohibits you and I from similar rebellion. My brothers and sisters, a true believer in this particular trait clearly stands against evil in words and in action. Doesn't do evil, say no evil, hear no evil, and do no evil. Stands against shamelessness. And more importantly, doesn't rebel against Allah and the natural way. So this part focuses on the understanding of the concept. Trait number 5 is about your commitment to stand against evil. Our commitment to stand against shamelessness. Our commitment to stand against rebellion. We just don't throw stones in Jamarat when we go there against shaitan and forget about shaitan for the rest of our lives. No, we remain resolute against shaitan and his evil. So just to finish off, this part I'm introducing you the concept. When we take a break, which is going to be now, after that when we come back, what we will do is we'll talk about this concept in a practical way. How do we translate this in our lives? What impact would it have? And what kind of changes do we need to have in our lives to make sure we show our commitment to Allah's words and stand against evil, shamelessness and rebellion? Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.